Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and I am so pumped. If you ever want to command the stage as a speaker, you've got the person that you want to listen to. She is coming up. She has been commanding the stage in a lot of different ways for a long, long time, but she has something special that she's going to be talking about today on Speakers Magazine, Jade Simmons. So we're going to bring her up right after this. There we go. Hey.
Lady, how are you?
Oh, I am doing well. I am so excited. You were just so that people know, we saw you just recently at the Women Elevating Women. You closed that conference down, and I saw you at WPO too. You've been in, some of the you were in Speakers Magazine for the month of
Yes,
September.
thank
I
you.
am a fangirl of Jade Simmons. I will just let you know. I told you that I love what you do in terms of how you command the stage. And you were like, girl, that's what I'm doing.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So give us the origin story about how you were an accidental entrepreneur,
Yeah.
uh, maverick in terms of that, and now an intentional disruptor. That's kind of like the way we want to say right now, because you didn't always start out trying to do what you're doing. Okay.
No, I mean, I was always doing too much, right? I mean, if there's a theme to my life, I was always doing probably more than one person should do. I was never staying in my lane. And as soon as I got somewhere, I was curious about where else can I go, right? So if I look back, there's that theme. But I love this idea of accidental maverick. That really, I was minding my business doing what I thought I always wanted to do, which was just to play the piano. I'm a classical concert pianist. That's what I went to school for. All my degrees, except the one I'm going after now, was in music. They were in music. And I was performing like all the other classical concert pianists, and I'm extremely competitive. So I was just doing what you do in that space on those stages, especially as an African American female. We're pretty rare out there in the classical music world, still are, much more now. I see many more Black women now than I did when I started. But I, at that point in my career, probably 2008, 2009, was starting to switch it up a little bit, Pam. I was bringing in a little bit of speaking. I was switching up the genres of music. So adding a little bit of jazzy type stuff, remixing the music, daring to bring in a little bit of street music. And there was a music critic who had been watching. So, sidebar, somebody's always watching, right? Somebody's
Mhm.
always watching. And he wrote an article on the top mavericks that he thought existed in the world of classical music, and he ranked me number one.
Mm.
And that thing just sort of, it sat with me, and I thought, I'm just out here being me. I didn't really think of it as maverick behavior at the time, but I'll tell you what, it started kind of an obsession and an addiction to going into a space and feeling called, feeling led to do something differently. And so I'm proud to have been a maverick in classical music, and then a maverick in the speaker world, a maverick in the ministry world. And even in the way that I write books, I try to do them a little bit differently than people expect. So I'm now a proud maverick and an intentional disruptor. I love that. I love that turn of phrase that you use.
So someone said, that part, somebody's always
Always,
watching. That is
always
so
watching.
true. Unwrap and win. That is so true. That is so true.
Good
And so we
stuff.
have Sharon Morton in the green room as well, from Black Door Society, as well as Nicolette as well. So the book, you talked about the book,
Mhm.
and we talked about the book in the September issue.
Yeah.
So the book is called Unleashing Purpose.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's the purpose, the
Purpose
remix.
the remix. Yep, that's the title.
Okay. A
Mhm.
mind-blowing re-understanding of purpose and how it works. So give us a little tidbits, because people could go get the book on Amazon, but
You
give us a
you got
little.
to go get the book. You have to get the book to get the context of what I'm going to say right now, which is your purpose is not the thing you do. It's the thing that happens in others when you do what you do. So I
Mm.
said somebody's always watching, somebody's always listening. I would drop that little nugget probably almost 8, 9, going on 10 years ago. I started saying that from the stage about purpose. And I'd say it and move on because it was my truth, as they say, right? I thought my purpose was to play the piano. Over the
Mhm.
years, I realized, no, it's bigger than the 88 keys. It's what's breaking out in the audience because I'm the one on the key. So there could be a gazillion other pianists, but if we start paying attention to our unique effect, I call it our outbreak effect, we'll see there's something only we can offer our audiences, right? And
Right.
so I started saying that from the stage, and people were rearranging their whole lives, Pam, based on that one statement. They were quitting their jobs. I'm a keynote speaker, and so companies would say, so we lost some of our best people after we brought you in because they want to go find purpose. It's like, oh, sorry. They're like, no, but you know what? They would feel then humbled, and also like they were now empowering their people to
Mhm.
go where they're designed to go, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that purpose statement started rattling people in a really wonderful way. And we get all these emails telling us, I did this because of that thing you said about purpose. So finally, in 2023, I wrote the whole book because I thought maybe we should make a manual. If they're really going to jump off of a ledge, let's put some context. And so that's where Purpose the Remix came from.
I love that. I love that. And it's Purpose of Remix, and people can go to Amazon and get that. So
That's
you're disrupting things. You're disrupting corporations. You go in and speak. I saw you personally disrupt audiences. I mean, you have a way that you command the stage. And I told you this, and you said that is part of your upbringing. And part of you did say you're very competitive, but when you take the stage, you're not just playing the piano or speaking,
right.
but it's a whole aura that you bring with it. From the look to even how you engage, and you're really present with the audience. So let's talk a little bit about command. And is this the first time you've ever done anything like that? I'm gonna just read a little bit what is command, okay?
Yeah,
Just from the
yeah.
website. It's a speaker amplifier, which is why we
Mhm.
have you on Speakers Magazine show, where you absolutely promise that we will help you rock every single stage you're currently on and be more than ready to slay the larger ones which you're
Mhm.
headed. I love that. It says if you're ready to uncover your communication differentiator and learn how to shift atmosphere, which I've seen you do,
That's it.
activate rooms, which I've seen you do, and transform people in it. I saw you do that as well a couple of times. You're ready to take command. And then,
Yeah.
really, you're talking about is for those that are high level aspiring professional speakers, executive experts, and so on. So
Mhm.
you're going from, again, something else. Jade is like curious about, like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
I want to pivot for a real moment of what you did in 2020. Was that the year that
Oh,
you ran for
wow.
president? Was that the year you ran for president?
That was my most disruptive move.
Yes, yes. So I could not let you go without talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all related. I'll pull it all together for you.
Okay.
So command is what I've been trying to do in every area of my life. But here's the thing. People will say, "Oh, you're a powerhouse. You're so good on stage. You do this well." Well, it comes from a confidence that actually has nothing to do with me. So the confidence is the absolutely unshakable belief that I am called to the rooms that I'm in, that there are no accidents, that having a mic in your hand is a gift, being on a stage, a place of elevation is a privilege, which must mean the people in the room are assigned to me, which means I owe them something before I leave. So if my
Mhm.
purpose, so which I said is not to play the piano, but it's to activate audiences into becoming the biggest, boldest version of themselves possible. Now, I get to do that when I play the piano, when I speak, when I write, when I preach, when I coach, when I train, but it's always going to be that same effect. So when I ran for office, that was me putting my money where my mouth is, right? So I believe this nation has a great purpose that we have not lived up to yet. I
Mhm.
do not believe that either party is fueling that purpose. And instead of being on the sidelines complaining about what I thought Republicans and Democrats weren't doing, I had to do what my father always said. My father's a civil rights activist,
Oh,
still civil rights activisting today. Okay. And what he says is do something about it. And so
Mm,
I ran in 2020 as an independent candidate for president. I did not run with
right.
either party. Sidebar, I've been courted before by both parties, right? As a Black female who's a daughter of a civil rights activist, that's very attractive to Democrats. As a Christian woman who's outspoken about her faith, that's very attractive to Republicans. But in the words of Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed. Okay. And I feel like we as individuals need to also be that way. So I had to take command of a moment, and I had to believe not just in me, that I could do the job or provide the solutions or write the policy. I had to believe in the people that I felt called to serve. So in
Mhm,
that case, it was in the broadest sense, right, as serving a nation. But on a daily basis, I'm serving the people in the room. So when you take command, it's not about you and your confidence in who you are, which that's huge, but it's about you and your confidence in your calling to the people that are in front of you. And
mhm,
so all that stuff that you mentioned that you see, whether it's the look or the aura or the atmosphere shifting, it emanates from a place of knowing that I'm called to that room. There's a confidence that comes out of that knowing that is not a confidence you can, it's not self-confidence. I call it purpose confidence. I
purpose.
know that I know that I know me and Pam are supposed to meet up at Woo in that room. If Pam is in that room, I must have something that's for her. That then requires me to be at my most excellent, to be at my boldest, and to be committed to that moment. I can't dial it in. It refuses to allow me to do what I did last time, to treat every room like it's the last room. It requires me to pull something new out of myself every time and
Mm.
expect to pull something out of people in that room every single time.
I love it. Sharon Morton says, "Wow." She says,
No
you
way.
ran for office." She said, "That takes a lot of courage," which you
Yeah.
said that confidence and courage comes from purpose. She says she did the same thing 20 years ago. She said it was
Artist.
the hardest thing she's ever done. Well,
Yeah.
she's also in the whole DC area as well. So that's
Oh,
a
yeah. She was
political
right in the frying pan.
right in the fire pan. Exactly,
No,
in terms of
it is
doing that.
hard. It's hard. And it's not even because of the job. She would slay at the job, right? The job has never, especially when we're talking about women of color specifically, the job is rarely the hardest thing. We can do the job. It's getting the job. It's having people believe we can do the job, not
Mhm.
second guess us when we're in the job, respecting us when we have the job. That's where the hard stuff comes from. And then when
Mhm.
we're running for office, it's all the people that come at us, and some look just like us, that doubt we can do what we feel called to do. That's where the hard stuff comes in. The job, it's like the icing because we feel called to the job.
Mhm.
I joke, I'm a very happily married wife with two kiddos. My husband and I have been together since we were 15 years old. Yes, we're
Wow.
high school sweethearts. I
Oh
have a
my
16-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter, and I love them to death. But I'll tell you what, I would rather solve the issue between Ukraine and Russia than fix another lunch for school tomorrow. I know it sounds crazy, but the mundane stuff drives me up the wall. Cooking
Mhm.
the same breakfast every day. And my husband is the real cook, so let me not even get out here and play. But I cook a mean scrambled egg, right? My takeout game is out of this world. But the everyday stuff, I don't like to dwell on everyday stuff or find solutions for everyday stuff, but my brain is always thinking about Palestine and Israel, Ukraine and Russia,
Mhm.
what's going on between the political parties here. We got to pay attention to how we're naturally wired
Yes.
because that will be a part of what comes out when we're on stages and in front of people, and we should run to that, not run away from it.
That's why I think people need to get that book first of all. So before they really kind of even come
Yeah.
to command is understand the purpose because you can't really deliver
Yeah.
everything that you need to without really knowing that purpose deep down inside. And
We
purpose remix
You're
is
right,
the name.
Pam. You're
That
right. And
is
we spend time on that
good.
because
Good.
when you're on stage, if you don't really, you're not on stage because someone hired you to be there. You're on stage because you're called to that moment. right?
Mm,
And so you'll spend time, I've had the privilege of speaking to some incredible major companies and brands, and I always get on a call with them. I'm sure how you teach your people to do and get that information before time, and I take that very seriously, the research that we do. But right before I go on stage, my prayer is, okay, what does this room really need? What do these people need right now? So right before I got on stage at Women Elevating Women,
mhm,
I asked Betty to come to my dressing room. And 5 minutes before I went on, I said, okay, you've been here all week. What have they already gotten? And what else do they still need?
mm,
So Betty told me, she said, oh, they're full up to here. They just heard a session on AI. They're, full to overflowing. They may be lacking confidence because there's so many things they got to go home and do now. So she told me all that. And if you'll remember, my first 2 minutes on stage addressed those issues, right? So that can't come from just having a script
right.
that you decide you have to be, you talk about being present, you got to be present in that moment for what that audience
And
needs.
being fluid and being really fluid enough, like, oh, okay, I rehearsed this all week. I rehearsed this speech. I'm going to deliver this speech, but it's
Yeah.
like, no, but they really need this. So
That's it.
that's the part. So let's talk a little bit about command because you have it where now you are taking. Is this the first time you've ever taken speakers in this type of environment and trained them and molded them or pushed them or birthed them? I
Yeah.
guess you would say. I don't know what if it's a
Ooh,
birth, if it's a
all
push.
those words, man. So I've avoided this from the very beginning. Absolutely avoided it. Have never done, at least officially. Behind the
Right.
scenes, there are people that I have coached, and I used to do a lot with actually young women who compete in the Miss America system. I came out of that system,
Okay.
and I like to take complete novices, women who have not competed but are brilliant, and train them, and then they come in stealth mode and they win the whole thing. I love
Mm,
doing that.
mm,
But officially, I've never done speaker training, mostly because I don't like a lot of the programs that I see that are out there. They're promising things that we have no business promising. I always say, run if you see an ad that says, you too can make, you know, 60K per engagement if you do this. Well, that's
mhm.
not how it works.
People think
Nobody's
there's a people think there's a magic wand, right? Like, "Ooh, yeah, just give me that magic wand,
talking.
Jay." It's like
Mm. Not everyone is built for every type of stage. We got to figure out where your sweet spots are. But my point is, I avoided it for years because I didn't like what looked like a money grab from a lot of people. I'm just being real honest there. And
mhm.
then I don't like to offer something until I know I can do it extraordinarily differently than everybody else is doing it.
That's
So
you. That's
uh,
you.
ours is called a full service speaker salon, right? It's an amplifier. So the first thing we don't do is try to make you me, right? I
Good.
don't have to go, and now you have to rap at the end of your presentation, or we got to add an instrument, or can you twirl the baton? What? No, I got to figure out what makes Pam Pam, right? And
Mhm.
then we amplify that aspect. And I like to teach people how to go off script. I like to teach them how to improvise, how to interact with the audience, and how to really grab the attention of the people who are watching and wanting to book you. I mean, your real success is said in who's bringing you back more than once. That's
Mhm.
real success. Anybody can hit a stage once, but for a client to say, okay, we need that again, so we're really proud of having some companies that have brought us back 4 and 5 times, sometimes
Wow.
to speak to the same audience because they trust you're not going to roll out the same thing you did last time.
There you
And
go.
you can shake it up for different rooms. So we teach you how to customize. We teach you how to discover your unicorn, the essence of your unicorn factor, your maverick behavior, all those things. And we work on a stage. So we have a session tomorrow, and they'll be on a stage Friday and Saturday. They'll actually be up on a stage working on stage presence, persona. We'll be talking about the business aspect of it, and we'll be
Mhm.
working on the messaging and customizing it for different industries. So if someone told me their message was innovation and they say, I've always wanted to break into pharmaceuticals, we work with how you make the innovation message work for a pharmaceuticals audience. So I'm excited about
Mm.
all those aspects.
I love that. Now, I will say that, you've been doing this for a while, a trained classical pianist. Your piano goes with you everywhere you speak, the Yamaha piano, and
Yeah.
it's more than just, a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. It is really part of your presentation to really share with people, and they leave inspired, but they also leave transformed. What I'm seeing is that now you're taking that framework, I guess you would say, of what you use to come out of one industry pivot and doing this, and now you're training other people to do that. It
Mhm.
is difficult because I do Speakers Magazine, so I have seen over the last 7 years so many speakers that are good that now say, "I can teach you how to do what I do too.
Mhm.
You can make
Mhm.
10,000, $20,000 a keynote." And I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, "No, they can't. That's not right." And so I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you are finally, really stepping into what you feel is something that you know is sure that you can help people with, and the
Yeah.
promise of what they're going to get when they come to command. How many people are going to be in command in each session that you do?
They are really small retreats. I'm extraordinarily intense and I'm serious about my one-on-one work. So we've
Mhm.
designed them for anywhere from 6 to 8 people. But to be honest, my sweet spot is about 3 to 6
Okay.
because we get each person up on stage. I don't do any one-on-one coaching outside of this. This is 4 days of intensity on the spot. We call it like an overnight speaker facelift. And the whole thing is, I always say, I'm not going to make you be me. Now, we charge a pretty penny for my keynote these days, Pam. We've earned it, and we're able to charge some pretty serious money for one keynote. And that's why we don't say things like you too can charge 6 figures for one keynote. There's a whole history to why we're able to charge that. So we even
Mhm.
talk about pricing. What makes you be able to charge something? Your price is reflective of your brand. Now, that doesn't mean just go slap on a premium price tag, because there has to be a reason why
Yeah.
people will invest at that level, and what we saw over the years. So I haven't actually been doing keynoting. Actually, I guess we're going on 10 years now. I probably did my first corporate keynote at maybe 2014. And that
Okay.
again was another accidental experience out there minding my business, and it slipped up and did a corporate keynote, and kind of the rest was history. But I've been on a stage since I've probably been about 8, 9 years old, right? So
Right.
the other aspect that I feel very confident in teaching is how to captivate an audience and how to draw them in, right? So
Yes.
that part of being a pianist, we don't talk or sing. All we got is this right here and whatever's happening in the music. And you need to be able to bring the audience on with that. And so there's speed, there's volume, there's crescendos, there's accelerandos, right? So we want to teach you how to use silence, teach you how to rest, right? Teach you how to pull an audience in. Do you have variation in your voice? Can you change up your speed
Oh
so
my God.
people lean in to
I
hear what you
love.
have to say, right? So there's all these techniques that have come naturally as an artist that I don't believe an artist has to have the monopoly on. There are other artist speakers, and we're not the same. So that should tell you you also can be, an energetic speaker and not be Tony Robbins, or a leadership
Mhm.
speaker and not have to be John
John
Maxwell.
Maxwell.
That's
Right.
John Maxwell and I share a lot of the same stages. We are night and day, and we
Yeah.
are there to deliver something that it might look the same. We might both be speaking on leadership, but we're coming from a different angle, and I have different tools. Thank you so much for saying it's not a gimmick, because I don't like teaching. I will not teach people how to grab something and gimmick with it. But this
Mhm.
is a part of who I am. So it makes natural, logical sense for me to incorporate it in what I do.
What I find that most speakers, they may have the gift of speaking, and they even have an audience in mind of who they want to deliver that message to, but a lot of them struggle with what is the one thing that they should speak on. So, of
Mm.
course, the same thing with PR. It's like, well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to reach everybody, or I want to talk to everybody, and I want to talk to everybody about everything. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, so you're not a specialist in anything. I can't really figure out where to put you, what media to
That's
put you in, because you're trying to do everything to everybody. It's like a
mhm.
book. I tell people the only book that's for everybody is the Bible. Other than
That's
that, everything else has a target market. So you
that's
probably want to target. So how do you help people decide what they speak on, or what is their signature speech, if that's such a word? What is their signature story or signature speech? And then from there you help them prepare and expand it and land it.
Yeah. So I'm the worst person to ask that question too. Because I sort of take the opposite approach. I said it earlier, I warned you. I've always been the one doing too much. And so people would always tell me, pick one thing. And I could
Mhm.
never pick one thing. Now, that today has resulted in me having the career that I have. I'm doing all the things right on stage. I'm going to play piano, I'm going to rap, I'm going to hit the drums, I'm going to do all the things. What I try to help speakers do now, we will talk about your core message, but I'm more concerned about your core effect, because we can then package that effect, and then that can have offshoots that help you. If you want to speak about purpose, what's the effect we're going to have when we speak about purpose? So I speak on purpose, breakthrough, innovation, leadership, reinvention, change, mastery, and diversity, right?
Woo!
Not everyone maybe can do that, but that's because I figured out what an organization needs from Jade Simmons. Now,
Okay.
I layer on top of that whatever topic they need. Now, so that may make me unique in some way that I haven't picked one. I will usually challenge people to expand on the one thing they think they have, or at least to find the versions of the one thing. So let's say, you mentioned some people are experts. So in Command, we work with professional speakers who are established,
Okay.
established in some way, shape, or form. They don't have to be making a full-time career out of it, but they have a steady flow of engagement
Mhm.
that may come at different price levels. Maybe they want to stabilize a bit. Maybe they want to do more corporate, more community, more church, or more college. And then we
Okay.
also work with business owners who have decided I need to take to the stage as a part of my business model to build my brand, to be the face and voice of my brand. I need to be better on stage, or as good on stage as I am in the thing that I'm an expert in. And in the private side of Command, we'll work with like Olympic athletes who might, but not so great with the microphone, but they're getting asked to speak because they're great at hurdles, right? So we want to
Yes.
help them at least not have a wah, wah, wah moment on stage,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so they will have a core message. If you're a gold medalist, it's probably going to be about goal setting, right? Or
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
for the win, right? Enter
Mhm.
cliche topic there. So I want to help them be confident in that core message, but make it so it can model as many industries as they want, or different demographics. So we do help them focus in. There's a sweet spot, Pam, but my gifting is in unleashing people rather than boxing them in. So you come
Mm.
have a core message, but you've been only speaking to this one demographic for a long time and you want to break out. We're going to take that core message, dissect it a bit. We're going to look at your story and see how it might apply. Because I think mentally and subconsciously, we cancel ourselves out of a lot of rooms that we could have great impact in because we think we don't have anything in common with them. I rarely speak in rooms full of artists. That's a very rare thing. Maybe once every 2 years am I speaking at an artist or a music convention. I'm mostly
Oh,
in the room
really?
yes, not, and people assume that I'm speaking to artists all the time. I'm not. I usually set aside a couple of engagements every year, 2 to 3 that we do that are charitable or causes that are
Mhm.
after my own heart. So I'll do something for artists or women's charities and those sorts of things. But I'm mostly in, uh, I've spoken to pharmaceutical industry, weapons and defense, education, government, lots of healthcare right after COVID because nurses and doctors
Mhm.
were burnt out. I spent a large part of my time in financial services, insurance. I know a little bit about almost every industry. And I'm usually the only concert pianist in the room, right?
Yes, you
But
are.
music is universal in many ways. And so that
It is.
already draw people in a very special way. So I'm living proof that you can have more impact than you might have thought possible in rooms that you thought you didn't belong in.
Mhm. And I always think too, Jade, is that people need to bring their whole self. That's what
That's it.
makes them unique, and then God doesn't waste anything. I just talked with a young lady who really got her degree in engineering, but now she has a business where she teaches people pole dancing. It's like,
No way.
"Okay." I said, "How does that fit?" And she
Hey,
says, "Well, it grew because of the systems that she put into place
good.
for this dance to
Yeah.
grow, this whole system of the pole dancing, circus,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
was like, so it's like she has 5 different businesses because of her engineer brain, left brain of
That's
how
it.
this, but the creative part, the right brain of really running the businesses, setting them up and starting them, pole dancing. I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And so God doesn't waste anything. So think like, "Oh, why did I do that?" It's like it's something
Good.
about your purpose that you're gonna have to use it in the remix.
That's
You
good.
put
That's
in
good. That's good.
in the
Yeah,
remix.
I say often in my, ministry settings that he's not a God of waste. And so even the worst times that we're living through, we're going through a very interesting season in business, and I would rather be done with it. I'd rather be back to the easy, smooth sailing part of business, but I already know this last year is gonna preach, teach, and reach, right? And so even this season that has been difficult is not wasted. And when you
Mhm.
know that moving forward, it makes each tough season much easier to withstand because you're already understanding how you're going to serve people out of this season that seems to be serving you, right? So it's exciting to understand that there's nothing at waste and that all your tools are going to come back into play. All your gifts can be reimagined for the season ahead.
Mhm. Do you think command is something that you would have liked to have had? Because I always say that this is what when we're coaching and things like that, we are the coach that we wish we would have had. Is command something you wish you could have had, when you started 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to seen something that came from the standpoint of what is your uniqueness. Like if someone had told me all those years ago that I could take what I was doing musically, take what I was doing in ministry, take my sense of humor and package all of those things, and it would be okay to take to General Mills, right? I don't think
Mhm.
I could have, that wouldn't have even computed for me, before I started speaking. So to come into the industry and would have had that masterclass would have been really powerful. Could have gotten here a lot quicker. That being said, I don't spend a lot of time looking back because I understand now that I was called to create this specific thing that can only come out of the last 10, 15 years that I've lived. Do you know what I mean? So, in
Mhm.
that way, it's
Mhm.
very humbling. And I think the people who are most likely to benefit from command, they're naturals in many ways already. They're naturally gifted in some way, whether it's on the stage or in sharing their expertise, but they have this feeling that there's a whole other level they can unlock. If they're already speaking professionally, they have this feeling that, you're kind of looking around and going, how come that person is on that stage? I could be on that stage. But you're
Mhm.
wondering how come it's other people and not me. So especially the business pieces that we'll talk about in command, I wish someone had told me about
Yes.
what it's like to work with the speaker bureaus. I wish someone had told me. That's the thing I really wish I knew were the business aspects. We
Mhm.
now manage, ourselves, and we are doing more direct business, direct to the corporation, to the client.
Yeah.
Much more difficult, much more rewarding, much more profitable. Now, I
Mhm.
wish someone had told me that 10 years ago.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah,
It's a whole
so
ecosystem to really learn about. It's a whole 'nother industry. It's something that unless you're in it, you're not gonna know about it or even what questions to ask because you don't even know. So,
no,
having an insider to really share with you and like you said, it's been 10 years and now you really feel like command is that
yeah,
thing that really will unleash people. So, I'm gonna give people a little bit and then we're gonna wrap up the
yeah,
command speaker training retreat. It's really intimate. It's an intensive. You see, Jade
mhm,
is very passionate about this. really for you to be up and close and personal, and they have to travel. It's not online. It is actually they're physically in your space
Yeah. Houston. Yeah.
in
Come to Houston.
Houston, right?
Mhm.
And only 6 to 8 spots,
Mhm.
really for those that are established and high level speakers, executives, business owners are in the process of taking the stage,
Mhm.
really to get on bigger stages or just really make more impact. But you promise this is one of the things that I knew I wanted to have you on this podcast is here to unlock, unload, and unleash the
That's it.
most dynamic version of themselves so that they
That's
can actually then go on and command the stage.
And
Because I
whatever
think,
stage they're called to, right? Who
yeah,
am I to say, here's where you must go, here's where you need to go? I can tell you from experience, you have no idea. You don't know
mm,
the half. But once you are unleashed, all these different doors open up to you. And I love the privilege of being a part of unlocking that.
yes. There was a CD I did, okay, talk about old school, about 12 years ago, all right?
Yeah.
And I pulled it out and I found a CD player around the house somewhere and I played it and it was called How to Unlock Your Inner Expert and
Mm,
Unleash Your Dreams.
wow.
And I
Wow.
was like, "What?" And I listened, I said, "Unlock your inner expert and unleash your dreams." And I really talked about what you are really talking about in command. Now, I don't teach people how to speak or even I promote them. That's what we
Mhm.
do. But that part right there is the first step.
Yeah.
Once they know the purpose, is then that part about the unlocking, unloading, unleashing. That
Mhm.
part is what is the price of going to command will do for you, and you
It's
have it. So say the dates, Jade, because you're doing them this year, and
that's
then
right.
next year is going to be double, triple the price, so they
Probably.
can take advantage of the dates that you have coming up.
Yeah, we're saying this is the best time to take command because we're not doing next year. We'll do a pretty extensive application process so that I can limit the spots and then curate it so that people in different industries are in the room, not everybody in the same industry. But we have three more that we're setting for October. October 10th through 13th is one of those, the 24th through the 27th, and then right at the end of the month, the 31st through November 3rd. So that'll be it for this year. And then we
Mhm.
do go up in price because we're undercharging right now, mostly because we want to be able to see the effect and then show. Copy is great. I can write some mean copy, right? We learn how to do that. Pam teaches y'all how to make yourself sound real good. But I want to spend some time up in people's faces and spaces so that
Mhm.
we can then show that promise to the public. So if you want to come and get in first dibs on command, this is the time to do it. What we promise is that you will not leave the same way you came. Pam's going to help you promote yourself. You've got to be able to deliver once you hit the stage. And I give you the backstage, behind the scenes secrets, Pam. There's a lot we've learned from the corporations that have brought us in. They tell us all the business. After I get off stage, they let their hair down. They go to the bar, throw a few back, and they tell us about the disasters they've had. The
Woo!
event planners tell us why they don't bring enter speaker name back here, and we're telling this stuff because this is the stuff nobody's going to tell you up front.
Mhm.
And I want
I
people to
always
know what's going on with their eyes wide open.
Yeah. I always say this too, and this with anything, and this even if you're an artist or an actor or a voiceover, it doesn't matter. You have to be easy to work with.
Oh,
And
gosh.
so many people will get this diva attitude like, "Okay,
Mm,
I only wanna have this type of water, you need to have da 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 da, and this and that." I mean, you can have writers in your contract,
yeah, we have
but
a
when you
right.
get to the point where you are just, like, just too much, then they are
Yeah.
not having you back. So listen, when Jay says that people bring her
Mhm.
back 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, it's because they enjoy her and enjoy working with her.
Oh, that's a good point.
So
That's a good
making
point.
sure that you're not a diva, and we know just artists that are, certain artists that are performers that
Mhm.
people will I love their
They get
music,
upset.
but they're just terrible to bring around or they're always late or whatever. So she will share what are the main things that sometimes it's not always the quote unquote the speaker that brings the best message, but the one that people love to work with and hire.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
People that they want to hire over and over again because they make them look good and they're easy to work with. So
Yeah.
that's that part right there. And I will say that I know that Jade is easy to work with. She's personable. What you see right here is what she is in person on stage. She brings it. I just say she's spirit led. So it's
Thank
heartfelt and spirit led. So you're gonna get it. And if you are that type of person where you feel like this is the kind of person you want, she would be a
yeah.
great coach. She'd be a great person at this retreat. So yeah,
Thank you,
that's
ma'am. That means a lot. I think we're going to be bringing you to the next retreat. Pam's going to have a whole session on. She's got a lot to teach back. And I love that you're
it.
seeing it from a whole different side. I think
Yeah.
you see the same thing in media too, right? Like the reporters got to kind of like you. They kind of got to kind of want to work with you
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah. I mean, you
it's
cannot be
important.
talking about, "I'll call you back in next week or something." I mean, just
Mm,
that whole era. I mean, literally, I will set up sometimes a radio tour for people and I'll say, "This is the time that you have to be here at this particular tour," and they'll late or they'll say, "Well, I don't feel like doing that one," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
yeah.
And so it's
No,
not just their reputation, but then it's my reputation.
sure. That's it. That's it. And it's
Ooh.
the continuity. I think you can't be on stage talking about hospitality and then you don't show any, or talking about
Yes, yes.
purpose, or talking about humanity and you treat people like they're not human. So it's
Mhm,
consistency.
mhm.
And again, that comes from the confidence of knowing what you're called to do and who you're called to. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yes, and I thank you for, having this person bring us together. We'll give a shout out to Betty Hines. Yes, yes, yes. And then also to, the group of us too as well. There's Marcia, there's Sharon, so
Ah,
one of the things that I enjoy about Speakers and Speakers Magazine doing the show is that I love the energy that all of you all bring. It's a bright spot. I mean, I can do PR for anything. I can do it for cars. I'm here in Detroit. I can do it for hamburgers. I've worked with McDonald's, but there's nothing like doing PR for people you really, really love and you get
wow.
energy from. So that's my thing. That's why I've been doing it for 30 years because it's like this is what I'm called to do. So this is
Look
what
at
I'm called to do.
wow.
So
Elevate,
I
there's a purpose in there, Pam, of elevating people and shining light, right? In places where people have been invisible, but it's time for society to see them. That's a really
Mhm.
powerful purpose. That's a really powerful purpose.
Yes, and shine is what I'm always talking about too. Speak Sell Shine. I have
Yeah.
that coming up in October. So that is really the light. It's biblical. I kind of get a little bit of that from scripture, without really being
Oh,
too,
yeah.
but it is about not hiding your light under the bushel. Okay.
That's
So making sure that you are shining that light. So Jade, we could talk all day. I
no,
want to
I
give a
know.
shout out to Nicolette, Natalie, Kamara there in the green room there. And
Hi,
then
y'all.
also to all of them that they've been over here giving the comments as well. Alina, she said, okay, there she goes. She said, I'm no longer
No,
sitting at the back of the
that's
room.
right.
There
Come
you
to
go.
the
There
front,
you
ladies.
go. Oh my God.
Spotlight
And then
time. I love it. I love it.
so
Let's
thank
go.
you so much for joining us today. People can go to jsimmons.com. Take advantage this year. If you can make it happen, it's the time to make it happen because next year is going double and triple the cost
Oh, yeah, well,
to be in her presence. So you want to make sure that you're doing it now. So thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you.
thank you, Pam.
All right, bye-bye. Jade Simmons, I'm telling you, if I were a speaker, if I was a platform speaker, I would definitely be up in that room. There is no way anyone is going to share with you all the tea that she's going to be sharing, right? So jsimmons.com, make sure that you go there and you get what you need. She's sharing, she's going to over deliver. I know she will. I know she will over deliver. So make sure that you do that. And I just thank you so much for joining Speakers Magazine show. Take care.
Are you ready to elevate your speaking career and be a part of a movement that amplifies Black voices? Speakers Magazine is your go-to resource highlighting top speakers, industry insights, and strategies to take your platform to the next level. Subscribe today and unlock the blueprint for speaker success. Visit www.speakersmagazine.com the #1 magazine for Black speakers. Subscribe now and start your journey to success. Amplify your voice. Subscribe today.